David said that on the day we were supposed to get our marriage license. I waited outside the civil affairs office until it got dark. By the time I called him, my hands were trembling from the cold. On the other end of the line came a burst of laughter. I told you Victoria would wait all day. Pay up. Pay up. David chuckled along with them. All right, Victoria. It was just a bet. Go home. I hung up in a daze, my nose burning, my fingers stiff from the wind. When I looked up, a strikingly handsome stranger was standing in front of me, smiling. Wanna get married, miss? He asked lightly. You can go inside and get the certificate right now. I blinked twice and whispered, all right. Chapter 1. David. I sniffled, my nose running from the cold. Are you done yet? If you don't come soon, we won't make it today. Victoria? He paused. What time did you get there again? 9 o'clock. I checked my watch nervously. Don't worry. I've already filled out the forms for both of us. You just need to. A cheer erupted through the phone. 6 hours. I told you Victoria would sit there like a good girl for 6 hours. Pay up. Pay up. My heart stopped. David? What are you doing? He laughed. Carefree and cruel. Just a little bet. Relax. Go home early. A bet. My whole body went rigid. Then, are we still getting the license today? His friend's laughter came through again, louder this time, chasing away every trace of dignity I had left. David laughed along. Come on, Victoria. Be realistic. Go home and stop making a scene. My eyes burned. My throat tightened. Are you really not coming? The line went dead. I wiped at my tears, no longer afraid of smudging the makeup I'd spent hours perfecting, when a soft, amused voice sounded in front of me. Wanna get married, miss? You can get your license right now. Chapter 2. I looked up into a pair of smiling peach blossom eyes. He wore a leather jacket, hands in his jeans pockets, leaning slightly toward me. What do you mean? I stammered, my face flushing red. I wasn't good with strangers. Even after dating David for years, I still shrank back when I met his friends. I got stood up too. The handsome stranger said, still smiling. Guess we're both pitiful. Why not keep each other company? I lowered my head, thinking seriously about it. Grandma's health was getting worse every day. I didn't even know if she'd make it through the winter. I thought of her wrinkled face breaking into a delighted smile when I told her I was finally getting married. My chest ached, and I looked up. All right, I said softly. If David didn't want to marry me, then what did it matter who I married? The man blinked, a little surprised. Oh, okay. He scratched his hair awkwardly, then pulled a document out of the briefcase his companion was holding. It was a prenuptial agreement. I flipped straight to the last page and picked up the pen, ready to sign, when he stopped me. Hey, don't you want to read it first? I lowered my eyes. Does it say you'll use me for your amusement without my consent? And no. Does it say I have to agree to sex whenever you want? No. It just. Then it's fine. I signed my name cleanly. After all, nothing could possibly be worse than being with David. Chapter 3. From college graduation to now, David and I had been together for 6 years. The first time I met him, I was still in my junior year. My roommate, who was obsessed with the game Age of Heroes, dragged me to watch a campus tournament our university was hosting. Victoria, you have no idea how handsome Eric is. He's the favorite to win this round. You have to come with me. At that time, David hadn't yet returned home to become the pampered young master he is today. Back then, he was a rising star in the esports scene. After the match, the host picked a random audience member for a quick interaction, and somehow, it was me. Which player left the deepest impression on you today? I blushed so hard I thought my face would burn. Eric, I guess. Because my roommate had only told me about him. Out of the other 7 players, I couldn't name a single one. And why is that? He's handsome. The whole venue erupted into good-natured laughter. The atmosphere hit a peak. David, wearing his headset, froze mid-sip when he heard my answer. He set down his water bottle and looked straight at me, surprised at first, then breaking into a brilliant smile. The stage lights flared behind him, dazzling and golden, making everything else fade. For a moment, the The noisy arena went utterly quiet. I could only hear my heart pounding. Thump, thump, faster and faster. A few days later, their team had another match, and somehow, I received tickets. VIP seats marked friends and family. Inside the envelope was a small note with just 5 words. Watch properly this time. Chapter 4. After the game, I went to the players' lounge and handed David a small gift box. It's a mouse pad with a wrist rest. You use the mouse so often, your wrist must get tired sometimes. I looked up quickly, but the little smile tugging at his lips made my heart race even more. Thank you for inviting our dorm to the match. I stammered. My roommate really likes you. Your roommate likes me? Huh? I blinked, confused, and looked up. The boy's grin turned sly, his eyes glinting like starlight. And you? Don't you like me? His gaze caught me off guard. Like a spell I couldn't resist. I do. Who could resist someone so bright and dazzling? David looked satisfied, took my phone from my hand, tapped twice, and handed it back. Then he gently flicked my forehead. Go home. Don't forget to reply to my messages. When I glanced at my phone, cheeks burning, I saw that he'd changed his contact name from Eric to David. And somehow, it sounded so much better. His team's base was in City A, but the tournament was nationwide, so our university only hosted a few of the rounds. He flew out soon after, but he texted me every single day, never missed one. When he was competing in Chongqing, he complained that the food was too spicy, that he didn't dare eat too much in case it upset his stomach. I found his hotel address and secretly sent him milk tea and fried chicken before his live stream that night, leaving a message, "You need to eat well to play well. Good luck." The next morning, I woke up to his reply. It was delicious. Thanks, Victoria. I buried my face in my pillow, grinning like an idiot, my heart full to the brim. Later, he went to Xi'an and sent me photos of all the local snacks laid out across the table. I scrolled through them at midnight, swallowed hard, and teased him, player Eric. Tempting people with food in the middle of the night is immoral. This time, he replied fast, with a voice message. I sneaked in my earbuds, drew the curtain around my bed, and pressed play. His smiling voice came through the speakers. Don't worry, I'll take responsibility. 3 days later, a huge package arrived from Xi'an, filled with local specialties. Inside was a note. Here to take responsibility. Chapter 5. The year I graduated from college, David stood under my dorm building holding 99 white roses. Back then, I had already imagined our future, marriage, 2 kids, a cozy home. But now, as I stared at the red marriage certificate in my hands, I realized something surprising. I felt utterly calm. No tears, no tremor in my heart, just stillness. Let's add each other on WeChat, I said, pulling up my QR code and showing it to him. My name's Victoria. You can. I know. The man smiled faintly, his eyes curving gently. I saw it when we filled out the forms. It's a beautiful name. I'm Joel, he continued, with a soft laugh that didn't quite hide the awkwardness beneath. Got stood up today, but my family's been pressuring me hard to settle down. Thank you for helping me out. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket and handed it to me. Here, take this first. Inside was a tear-shaped diamond ring, beautifully cut, glimmering under the sunlight. I sighed silently, not for myself, but for the girl who didn't show up. And one more thing, Joel added as I accepted the ring. My family situation is a bit complicated. Later, I might need you to come meet my relatives with me. I shook my head lightly. That's fine. In a couple of months, I might trouble you to come home with me too. My grandmother has been waiting to meet her granddaughter-in-law. Of course. Joel's smile deepened, his tone gentle but firm. Even if this is just a marriage by agreement, we're family now. If you ever need anything, you can come to me. The word family hit something deep inside me. I softened my gaze and nodded. All right. Chapter 6. Back at the apartment, I looked around at the mess I'd left behind while rushing out that morning. Scattered makeup, open drawers, clothes tossed over chairs. I sighed and began to tidy up. But as soon as I took a step, I felt something crunch under my foot. When I looked down, it was the necklace David had given me, the first gift he ever bought me. The chain had broken this morning, but I'd been in too much of a hurry to stop and pick it up. Now, It felt like a sign. Maybe our story was meant to end today. Back when David was still a top-tier esports player, he was already untouchable, handsome, adored, and rich. Even after retiring, he remained the family's beloved golden boy. Why did I ever believe someone like him would marry someone as ordinary as me? Hot tears rolled down my cheeks and splashed onto the necklace. That was when my phone rang. It was David. His voice was slurred and muffled, hard to make out. Victoria. I don't feel well. Can you bring me that porridge again? A different voice suddenly came on the line, a man's. Sis-in-law. He drank too much and has a bad headache. Could you bring the porridge you made last time and pick him up? I let out a quiet laugh. Every time I made him porridge, it was a different recipe, but apparently, no one ever noticed. I'd wanted to refuse, but then I looked around the apartment at the things that still reminded me of him and thought it was better to end this properly. Face to face. Send me the address. I said calmly. I'll come over now. Chapter 7. When I arrived, David already looked better. He was lounging on a single sofa, eyes closed as if resting. David. I called softly. He lazily opened his eyes, his gaze landing on me. Come here. Give me a hug. He lifted one arm toward me. The private room erupted in teasing laughter. All right, man. You've shown off enough today. I pressed my lips together. David, you stood me up this morning, and now you want me to go over and hug you? He chuckled, relaxed and amused. What's wrong? Are you mad? Come on. That thing about getting the marriage license. He waved his hand. Dismissively, I only said that 'cause I lost a round of truth or dare while drinking. Just having some fun with the guys. Come here. Let hubby give you a hug. Again. Always like this. I lowered my head, holding back the tears burning behind my eyes. At parties, he'd tell everyone I played the pipa and ask me to perform to liven the mood. At dinners, he'd say I was too quiet and make me tell jokes. Even during drinking games, when they couldn't think of a dare, I'd become the punchline. David, I said quietly, pushing the bag in my hands toward him. Don't call me that. I'm married now. What? Just then, someone knocked over a glass, drowning out my words. David frowned and rubbed his ear. Victoria, can you stop talking like a quail? Speak louder. So I did. I raised my voice. I said, I'm married. The room fell silent, completely. All the laughter stopped, and every pair of eyes turned toward me. The air grew heavy. David's face darkened, his stare sharp and cold. After a long pause, he let out a low, bitter laugh. Well, Victoria, looks like you've grown a spine. Got some nerve now. Huh? No, I said, shaking my head. I pushed the bag forward again. These are all the things you gave me. I've packed them up. Check if there's anything missing. I can mail it to you. Let's not see each other again. I don't want any more misunderstandings. Goodbye, David. I forced a smile that felt uglier than crying, turned around, and pulled open the door to leave. The tears I'd been holding back finally burst free, streaming down my face as I walked away. Chapter 8. The private room was terrifyingly quiet. No one dared to speak, watching David's face darken like burnt charcoal. Maybe you should go check on Victoria? Noah nudged his girlfriend. Tell her not to be mad anymore. She should come back and talk to David properly. David didn't respond, but in his heart, he was hoping anyone, would just bring Victoria back. He knew this joke had gone too far. He just needed to have someone pick out a nice designer bag later, say a few sweet words, and she'd forgive him like always. That was how Victoria had always been, soft when it came to him, never truly able to stay angry for long. I think you can forget about that, Alice said, swirling the wine in her glass. Didn't anyone notice the ring on Victoria's left hand? I told you guys not to make that kind of bet. Now you've pissed her off and she's gone. David, you'll have to go after her yourself. Ring? David felt heat rush straight to his head. He grabbed a bottle of wine off the table and smashed it down hard, the sound sharp and final. So that's it? He sneered coldly. This is a setup to force me into marriage? The ring's already bought. Huh? Victoria had become far too spoiled under his care, so spoiled that she actually dared to play mind games with him, to make him lose face like this in front of all his friends. Fine, he muttered through clenched teeth, his thumb rubbing hard against his palm. She wants to cut ties? Let's see how long she can last. Chapter 9. When I woke up the next morning, I saw a message from Alice. She told me David had thrown a massive tantrum after I left. I replied with a single smiling emoji. It doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with me anymore. Alice and I couldn't be more different, our personalities, our backgrounds, but somehow, we'd become friends. Maybe because we were always the unwilling girlfriends dragged into our boyfriends' gatherings. You're really serious this time? Alice asked. Yeah. I typed slowly. Didn't you tell me yourself that David wasn't the right man? Alice sent back a ghost face emoji. I like it. Give that man a heart attack. When you really find someone to marry, I'll give you a huge red envelope. I covered my eyes and laughed quietly. No wonder no one believed me. Even Alice thought I was bluffing yesterday. It explained why David was so furious. He must have thought I was just playing some emotional trick again. Then my phone buzzed once more. It was a message from David. Come get your things from my place, Victoria. If you're ending this, then make it clean. I still had plenty of clothes at David's apartment. Whenever I went over, he would pull me straight to the bed. I'd always been a bit resistant to being that intimate before marriage. But David's needs were constant, and I truly believed I'd be his wife someday. So, little by little, more of my things ended up in his home. Now that it was over, I figured I might as well take them back. After all, I wasn't one of those rich young heirs who could just throw things away like they meant nothing. Chapter 10. David's house was in one of the most exclusive villa districts in City A, and the rideshare driver wasn't allowed in. Sorry, Miss Victoria. The security guard said apologetically. Mr. David gave orders just now. No unfamiliar vehicles are permitted inside. You'll have to walk in on your own. I nodded. It's all right. David always had this way of taking his bad moods out on others. Once, I'd asked him to accompany me home. He refused, saying I was being too clingy. When I kept insisting, he got annoyed and left me at the gate of the villa complex. I had to walk 20 minutes alone in the cold before I finally reached home. When he saw me again, leaning casually against his car and smoking, my eyes were red with tears. He raised a brow. Cooled down yet? Still planning to throw a tantrum? I bit my lip and shook my head. As he pulled me into his arms, the tears came again. Please, don't leave me behind again. All right, he murmured, gently smoothing my wind-tousled hair before pressing a kiss to my forehead. Be good, Victoria. I'll stay with you. Back then, I'd thought that promise meant something. Fortunately, David hadn't been angry enough to change the house code. When I entered it twice, the door beeped open. But as soon as I stepped inside, the sight before me made me draw in a sharp breath. David had a pretty young girl trapped between him and the dining table. His hand brushed aside her hair. His lips curved with a teasing smile as he leaned close to her cheek. The girl, facing me, froze. Her face flushed scarlet as she pushed him away in panic. And yet, my heart didn't ache the way I thought it would. It was steady, calm, almost peaceful. Strangely enough, that calm felt like freedom. I rubbed my thumb over the ring on my left hand. Falling in love with David had been sudden. Letting him go, it seemed, was even faster. Chapter 11. Sorry to interrupt, I said softly, keeping my head down, refusing to look at them. I'm just going upstairs to pack. I'll be quick. I hadn't been in the bedroom for more than 2 minutes before David followed me in, his gaze fixed sharply on my face. The moment my mom heard we'd argued, he began. She sent someone over. I gave a quiet hum. I knew his mother never liked me. She'd introduced him to countless pretty girls before. Well, you'd better be nice to her, he said coldly. Don't make her sad. The light suddenly dimmed as David leaned closer, his presence heavy and suffocating. Victoria, he said in a low voice, I'm giving you one last chance. If you beg me now, you'll still be the only girlfriend I have. And isn't marriage what you want? Then ask me, propose to me. Do you always need me to make the first move before you act? He'd forgotten something. I had already proposed to him, twice. Once, during a fireworks show, I'd whispered the question against his chest. But he never answered. The second time, I'd even bought a ring. But before I could open the box, he stopped me with a cold voice. Enough. Victoria, don't embarrass yourself. Put it away. And now, He wanted me to ask a third time, but I was done begging. I clicked my suitcase shut. I've packed everything. If I forgot something, just throw it out. Thank you for the trouble. Chapter 12. Victoria. David's angry voice echoed behind me. He ran up and cornered me by the iron gate, blocking my way. I've been patient enough, haven't I? He snapped. How far do you plan to take this drama? Stop overreacting. It was just a joke. You don't have to act like this. Do you see this, David? I lifted my left hand, showing him the ring on my finger. I told you, I got married yesterday. He let out a derisive laugh. Yeah, right. Don't kid yourself, Victoria. You think anyone would just show up at the Civil Affairs Bureau and marry you? David tightened his grip on my wrist, refusing to let go. David, I'm serious, please. Let me go, I cried, my voice breaking. And then, a shadow moved in front of me. David's hand suddenly loosened, his grip slipping away. I stumbled sideways, losing balance. But instead of falling, I landed against a solid, warm chest. I looked up into a pair of familiar eyes, soft and bright as spring peach blossoms. Joel? I breathed, stunned. Chapter 13. Just yesterday, Joel had been smiling and gentle. Now his face was dark, his eyes sharp and cold as he glared at David. Stay away from her. David wiped the small cut on his cheek from a tree branch and let out a low, mocking laugh. Well, young Master Joel, snatching a woman right from under my nose. Huh? From under your nose? Joel raised an eyebrow and pulled something from the inner pocket of his jacket, a little red booklet. He flipped it open and held it out. See for yourself. Name, Joel. Spouse, Victoria. Then he took my left hand and showed David the ring, fresh from Paris last week. After that, he slipped his arm around my shoulders, pulling me firmly into his chest. So tell me, young Master David, what exactly are you trying to do? Blocking my wife in broad daylight? David's pupils widened, and for the first time, his usually arrogant gaze faltered with panic. Victoria, what does he mean? Exactly what he said, I answered quietly, eyes lowered. David, I told you yesterday I got married. You, David's chest heaved with anger. You're doing this to get back at me, aren't you? Because I stood you up, so you just went and randomly married someone? You think this Joel guy's any better? He spat, voice dripping with scorn. You even know why he's marrying someone? His father's illegitimate son is fighting him for the inheritance. He had to get married to keep it. Victoria, can't you use your brain for once? Are you that desperate for a man that you'll just throw yourself at anyone? Before he could finish, Joel shoved me gently aside, grabbed David by the collar, and punched him square across the face. The blow landed hard. David staggered, his cheek already swelling. He froze for a moment, then swung back in fury. The two of them went down, grappling, fists flying. Panicked, I rushed forward and wrapped my arms around Joel, shielding him with my body. Stop, please, stop. Seeing my trembling back, David's fist halted midair. He froze, staring at me, his expression twisting, bitter and lost. His girl, the girl who once begged him not to leave her, why was she standing in another man's arms now? Feeling the stillness behind me, I gently patted Joel's arm. Get up, I whispered. The man who'd just thrown a brutal punch now obediently stood, but still kept me behind him, his glare fixed coldly on David. David, I said, my tone calm, almost detached. I married him willingly. You always knew my grandmother's dying wish was to meet her grandson-in-law. You didn't want to marry me. I had to find another way. It was my fault before, for overestimating myself, for having foolish hopes. But this way, it's better. Let's end it here. I tried to pull Joel away, but he didn't move. Instead, he looked down at David, his lips curling into a cutting smile. Next time, young Master David, when you plan to get married, try not to leave the girl waiting outside the Civil Affairs Bureau all day. A girl as lovely as Victoria can be stolen away easily. He started leading me away, then paused again and looked back, smirking wickedly. Oh, wait, I forgot. Maybe you'll never find another girl as sweet as Victoria in your lifetime. At those words, David's eyes widened, panic flooding his chest like cold water. For the first time, he truly realized, this time, he might have lost Victoria forever. Chapter 14. Joel brought me to a villa that made David's house look almost modest. The interior was elegantly furnished, every corner gleaming with understated luxury. And through the glass doors, I could see an outdoor swimming pool in the back garden. I hesitated before asking softly, "Are you rich?" Joel grinned, but the movement tugged at the cut on his lip, making him wince. Ouch. Well, just a little, a tiny bit rich. I couldn't help but laugh. Seeing my smile, Joel's expression softened. He stopped joking and looked at me seriously. "Will that bother you, Victoria?" No. Of course not. His gaze made me nervous. I stammered. I won't take anything from you. Don't worry. Oh, right. I suddenly remembered. Didn't we sign a prenuptial agreement? Joel sighed. He reached out and gently brushed the red marks David had left on my wrist. His voice dropped to a mutter. "If I'd known it was you, I never would have signed it." Huh? I blinked. "What did you say?" He quickly straightened up, wearing his usual light smile again. I said, "Your hands hurt. Let me put some ointment on it." As Joel carefully applied the medicine, I found myself staring. It wasn't a serious wound, yet he treated it with such care, each touch deliberate and gentle, as if I were something fragile that might shatter. When he finished, he looked up at me, his eyes soft and warm. "Victoria, are you free this weekend? Come home with me for dinner." I froze for a second, then David's cruel words from earlier flashed through my mind, and I blurted, "Sure, but will your family mind that I'm just ordinary?" Like David's parents had. But Joel only smiled, unconcerned. "My grandmother's the only one who cares, and her only request is that I bring a girl home." He chuckled. "I had a friend who never wanted to marry. One day he brought a boyfriend home, scared his parents half to death. Ever since then, my grandma's been terrified that I might do the same." I bit back a laugh and nodded. "Then, what about your parents? What should I bring as a gift?" Joel's smile faded a little. "My dad's been abroad for years. My mom divorced him when I was young. I rarely see either of them." He looked down. "Don't worry. As long as grandma likes you, that's enough." Poor guy. Looking at him with his head slightly lowered, I suddenly thought of a puppy who'd been scolded for something it didn't do. My heart softened, and I couldn't resist reaching out to ruffle his hair. "Don't be sad. I'll help you from now on," I said gently. "No one's going to take what belongs to you." "Not entirely because of that," Joel murmured, flustered. "I mean, yes. I was technically planning to marry someone just to keep the inheritance. But," he trailed off, cheeks slightly pink, realizing how it sounded. Still, he couldn't deny it. He'd been lucky, because somehow, in trying to find anyone, he'd found Victoria. Chapter 15. Joel hadn't been lying. His grandmother was absolutely thrilled the moment she saw our marriage certificate. She held my hands tightly, her face glowing with joy as she called me baby again and again. "Grandma." Joel leaned over, feigning indignation. "What's going on here?" "I already told Victoria, only I get to call her baby." The old lady chuckled and gave him a light smack on the back. "You jealous brat. You hid her so well. Only now do you bring her home to meet me?" Then she turned to me, still smiling warmly. "Victoria, sweetheart, how long have you two been together?" Huh? I blinked in confusion. Joel hadn't coached me on our story at all. I could only mumble vaguely. Quite a while. 5 years. Grandma." Joel jumped in smoothly. "Back when you threw me out of the house. Remember? I was broke, unloved, and starving." He put on an exaggeratedly pitiful face. "Victoria saw how miserable I was and ordered me a meal. That was the best meal I'd ever had. I swore that day I'd bring her home and cook for her for the rest of my life." Joel's grandmother laughed so hard she nearly teared up. I could only twitch the corner of my mouth. Joel was very good at making things up. In the art of fake marriage. He was clearly a professional. We were in the middle of a cheerful chat when my phone suddenly rang. It was my mom. We usually just texted, so a phone call, especially one this urgent, could only mean one thing. My heart clenched. I fumbled to answer. "Mom? What's wrong? Is it Grandma?" "Victoria." My mom's voice was low and cautious. Why didn't you tell me your boyfriend was coming? How could you let him travel here alone? My boyfriend? My breath caught. Mom, what did he say his name was? You silly girl, isn't it that David you're always talking about? Aw, he's right here, coming over. Mom, who's calling you? I asked, dread pulling in my stomach. Victoria, she said hurriedly. You need to come back now. He's arranged for your grandmother to stay in a VIP ward. Brought in some top specialist, even the hospital director came down to check in personally. All right, I've got to go. But you, buy a ticket and get home today. Chapter 16. Joel insisted on coming with me, but I stopped him. Your grandma just said your half-brother is already circling like a hawk. I said, patting his arm to reassure him. Take care of your own mess first. I'll be back soon. Joel clung to my sleeve, refusing to let go. His tone almost childishly aggrieved. So what, David just has to shed a few tears and you'll divorce me? Huh? Of course not. I smiled faintly. I was born in the year of the horse. I don't eat grass I've already stepped on. By the time I rushed into the hospital, it was already past midnight. Grandma was asleep. After confirming that David hadn't said or done anything to upset her, I finally felt my heart unclench. Once I'd soothed my parents, I went straight to David's hotel. When he opened the door, his expression was smug, completely unsurprised. You came all this way so late at night. My poor baby must be tired. He reached out, trying to pull me into his arms like before, but I stepped back, dodging his embrace. David, I said quietly, if you have that much money to burn, just go scatter it in the street. David chuckled. What are you talking about? I'm just doing my duty to your grandma. Don't make me sound like some spoiled playboy. What exactly do you want? My throat tightened with anger. David, you were the one who didn't want to marry me, and now you're the one who won't let go. I'm not some naive girl anymore. I can't keep playing these games with you. I'm married now. Please, just let me go. Married? To Joel? David's eyes reddened. He slammed one hand against the wall beside me, trapping me in place. You think being with Joel means peace and happiness? You have any idea what his stepmother is like? Even his girlfriend knew to run before it was too late. And you're walking right into the fire pit. He pulled out his phone, scrolling quickly. Look, 3 days before you two got that marriage license, he was still fooling around with another woman. He turned the screen toward me. See that? She's his childhood sweetheart. You really think he loves you? Don't be stupid, Victoria. No one will ever treat you like I do. On the phone screen was a photo of Joel and a beautiful girl. She looked upset, turning to leave, but there was a faint smile at the corner of her mouth. Joel was behind her, holding her hand with that same familiar grin, as if he were saying something to coax her. So she was the girl the ring was meant for. Without thinking, my fingers brushed the diamond on my own left hand. I'd known Joel got dumped before marrying me, but seeing the image still left a faint bitterness blooming in my chest. David noticed the change in my expression. He took the chance to pull me inside. The room smelled of roses. Scarlet petals covered the white bed sheets, arranged into the shape of a heart. Then David knelt down on one knee, pulling a ring box from his pocket. His voice softened, eyes locked on mine with practiced sincerity. Victoria, he said, marry me. Chapter 17. That scene before me, David kneeling, a diamond ring glittering in his hand, was once everything I had dreamed of since college. It had been my most beautiful fantasy for 6 years, and the most unattainable wish in my heart. But now that it was real, all I felt was exhaustion and emptiness. No, I won't marry you. I shook my head slowly, forcing the words out one by one. David's face drained of color. Why? Victoria, his body trembled. The ring slipped from his fingers and clattered onto the floor. You've always wanted to marry me, haven't you? I looked down and smiled faintly. So you did know, but now I don't want to anymore. David. I crouched, picked up the ring, and placed it gently in his palm. My tone was soft, almost tender. I don't love you anymore. Maybe I stopped loving you the moment you threw away my proposal ring. I held on this long not because I still had feelings for you, but because I needed time to break free from the habit of loving you. So please, let me go. My voice was calm and gentle, yet to David's ears, it cut like a blade. He remembered that lost ring. the one Victoria had given him, the one he hadn't even bothered to keep. Back then, the proud young heir had brushed off the trembling girl who'd nervously pulled out that little box. He'd seen the emotion in her eyes but thought she was being childish. That at 26. She was still too young to talk about marriage, so he'd stopped her before she could even finish speaking. She had looked startled, then quietly handed him the box anyway, saying softly that she'd bought it because it looked nice. Months later, she'd asked why he never wore the ring. It was only a small platinum band, the diamond tiny enough to be overlooked. He glanced at it once and then lost it somewhere without caring. That wasn't a ring a rich man like him should wear. I don't know, he'd said casually while tightening his tie. Maybe I lost it. He'd seen the light fade slightly in Victoria's eyes. Yet she'd still stood up, straightened his collar, kissed his cheek, and smiled as she saw him off. He hadn't realized it then, but that was the exact moment when they'd already lost their future together. Chapter 18. I wanted to transfer Grandma back to a regular hospital room. The VIP suites fees were far beyond what a family like ours could afford. But Mom told me Grandma's health had been unstable lately, and moving her around might make things worse. But, I sighed, we really can't keep paying for this much longer. Who said that? A familiar, teasing voice came from behind me. Joel walked in, arms full of shopping bags, a bright grin on his face. Mom, he said cheerfully to my mother. I'm Joel. Victoria and I got our marriage license last week. I haven't had the chance to visit yet. Please forgive me for the delay. My mom froze, eyes wide. Got married? Victoria, didn't you say you registered with David? On one side was the smiling Joel, and on the other, my mother looking ready for interrogation. I gave Joel a look, your turn, storyteller, and covered my face like a guilty child. Well, he was good at making things up. Might as well let the expert handle it. Compared to David's sharp, imposing presence, Joel's warm, easy smile made people instantly comfortable. Within minutes, my mom was completely taken in by his story, and the more she looked at him, the more she liked him. We got married in a rush, Joel said smoothly, and I haven't had the chance to prepare a proper bride price. Grandma insisted I bring it along today. He pulled out a sleek card and handed it to my mother. There are 2 million yuan on this. Please accept it. My mom's eyes widened, but she accepted the card after a pause, pressing it into my hand. If it's for Victoria, then she should keep it. Joel waved his hand lightly. No, that's for you and Uncle. Victoria's part is separate. Then he smiled at me, his tone light but purposeful. I'll take her to get it now. Chapter 19. I was completely stunned by Joel's sudden performance. It wasn't until we got into the car that I finally snapped out of it. How could you pull something like that without talking to me first? Didn't I just solve your family's problem? Joel turned his head slightly, giving me a sidelong glance. Now that everything's fine at home, it's time to deal with the problem outside. I rubbed my temples, feeling a headache coming on and deeply regretting how, before bed last night, I'd given in to his sweet talk and told him everything about David. What do you mean? Deal with the outside problem? The memory of their last fight flashed in my mind. I grabbed his sleeve nervously. You're not going to fight him again, are you? Your grandma already asked about the last time you got hurt. I'm not covering for you again. No fighting. Joel chuckled, pulling a document out of his bag. I brought something good this time. I'll show it to him later. What is it? I took the folder and glanced at the cover. Share transfer agreement. I, Joel, voluntarily transfer 37% of my company shares to my wife, Victoria. Upon this agreement's activation, Victoria will become the company's largest shareholder. You're insane. My voice trembled as I looked at him. Don't worry. Joel brushed a loose strand of hair behind my ear, his tone gentle. The company's doing fine. There's no risk of bankruptcy. And even if something does happen, it says right there, any liabilities and debts will still be my responsibility. That's not the point. I threw the document back into his lap. You worked so hard to earn those shares. How could you just give them away? So what? Joel gave a quiet, self-mocking laugh. If I can't even keep my wife, what's the point of keeping a company? Don't say that. My heart suddenly ached. We're going to divorce eventually. When your girlfriend realizes she still loves you and wants to marry you, we'll go file the papers. Girlfriend? Joel blinked, startled. Sitting up straight, I pressed my lips together and pulled out my phone, showing him the photo David had sent me. This girl, she's the one you were supposed to marry, right? Joel opened his mouth, closed it again, and finally forced out a whisper. Yes, you've known her for years, I said quietly. This ring, I lifted my left hand. It was bought for her, wasn't it? Joel shut his eyes and sighed. Yes. Then there's nothing left to say. I smiled faintly, wiping the tears from the corners of my eyes. Victoria. I scolded myself bitterly. You really are a fool, always losing control of your heart. Chapter 20. Joel showed up at David's door with me by his side and a share transfer agreement, signed only by himself, clutched in his hand. Just moments ago in the car, he had looked defeated, but now he was all sharp edges and arrogance again, one arm wrapped tightly around my shoulders, the other thrusting the document right in David's face. I heard the young master's been trying to steal someone's wife. He sneered. Maybe take a look at yourself first, see if you're even capable of it. David's expression darkened. A share transfer agreement? Joel, you've really lost your mind. Joel let out a mocking laugh. So what if I have? You think I can't afford it? Then, with a subtle raise of his eyebrow, he lifted a small recorder he had been hiding under the wide sleeve of his coat. I wonder, he said softly, what your grandfather would think if he heard that line. Would he still be so eager to hand you the company? Especially knowing all those dirty little secrets between you and your dear cousin? David's face instantly drained of color. You set me up? Who told you to do this? Who told me doesn't matter? Joel snorted. Just be smart and stay the hell away from my wife. Once we stepped into the elevator, Joel spat through gritted teeth. Coward. All talk, no guts. Then he leaned close to me, eyes glinting with excitement. His tone suddenly soft again. Don't worry, Victoria, he murmured. He won't dare come near you again. Chapter 21. After returning to City A, I received a package from David. Inside was the ring he had used the night he proposed, along with a card that read, "The last gift I'll ever give you." I let out a short, bitter laugh, tossed the box by the door, and booked a courier to send it right back. He never came looking for me again, and neither did Joel. The only good news was that after David's last visit, my grandmother's spirits had lifted so much that her health improved. During a video call, she said she couldn't quite remember what the young man looked like and asked when I'd bring him to visit again. I smiled and agreed, thinking silently that I might have to bring someone else next time. The day the snow melted in City A, Joel texted to ask if I could join him and some friends for dinner. I thought for a moment about the marriage agreement, still valid for another 8 months, and agreed. Before leaving, I slipped the ring he'd given me into my bag, intending to return it. Since I'd come back home, I hadn't worn it once. Joel picked me up after work. His eyes immediately caught my bare ring finger. Where's your ring? Right here. I took out the velvet box from my bag and smiled faintly. I was planning to return it tonight. Joel paused for 2 seconds, then took the box. Fine. It wasn't yours anyway. It was meant for someone else. You don't have to wear it. My throat tightened, and I felt the sting behind my eyes. I pinched my palm hard and forced the tears back down. He drove me to a quiet, elegant restaurant. When he opened the private room door, there were only 2 women inside. One of them smiled and came over to take his arm. When I looked closer, I froze. It was the same girl from that photo. A wave of cold anger washed through me. But before I could speak, the girl chirped sweetly. Hi, sister-in-law. What? I blinked, staring blankly at Joel. His face darkened as he turned to her. Stand up straight. Lily, tell her yourself. Didn't you agree to register the marriage with me? Lily's head dropped immediately. Yes. I did agree, she muttered. But even though I ran away, you still got what you wanted. And you even picked up such a beautiful lady. Shouldn't you be thanking me? Joel nodded calmly. Fine. Then tell her, why didn't you show up? Lily glanced pitifully at the tall woman standing behind her. My sister wouldn't let me. I couldn't make her sad. Could I? You have your wife to please. And I have mine to comfort too. What? My eyes widened in disbelief. What on earth was this girl talking about? Joel let out a long sigh, then turned to me with a helpless expression. You see, Victoria? I told you, there was nothing between us. It was just a transaction. Nothing more. Chapter 22. After dinner, Joel drove me home. We didn't speak the entire way. Just as I turned to go upstairs, he suddenly called out behind me, "Victoria, you started doubting me because of that photo." But the other person in the picture was abroad on vacation at the time. I was afraid that if I tried to explain, it would only hurt you more. I might have been a jerk when I was younger, but I never messed around with girls. I'd never bring that kind of trouble to you. My throat felt dry. "Why are you telling me this, Victoria?" he said softly, taking a step back before kneeling down on one knee. In his hand gleamed a new, brighter diamond ring. That ring before, the one that was meant for Lily, she never saw it. But it still wasn't truly yours. This one is. I designed it myself with a jeweler, learned diamond polishing for 3 months, and carved our names inside. Will you marry me? I covered my mouth, trying to stifle a sob. My voice trembled. Haven't we already gotten our marriage certificate? It's not the same. Joel shook his head gently. The last time, the certificate had a 1-year limit. This time, my proposal lasts a lifetime. Let me love you for the rest of my life, please? Through tears, I nodded as he slid the ring onto my finger. The image of the lover I had once dreamed of in my youth gradually took shape. And now, he stood right in front of me. If only we had met before I married. Joel's side story. Joel had grown up never worrying about anything, clothes laid out, meals served, problems solved for him, until, at 16, his grandmother discovered that his father had a child out of wedlock. The old matriarch, who had ruled the business world for decades, immediately took charge again. She sent Joel abroad to further his studies while she schemed to ensure that, when the time came, he would inherit the company, not the illegitimate child. After doing the math on the boy's age, she devised what she called a settle down early and take control plan, a way for Joel to secure his position before anyone else could threaten it. So, the once carefree teenager suddenly became a student crushed under endless deadlines and expectations. When he returned home at 20, the family company was trying to pivot toward the booming esports market. His grandmother, ever ruthless, shoved him into the field, not as an executive, but as a trainee, so he could learn firsthand how harsh the industry really was. Joel knew life could be cruel, but not this cruel. Being a trainee wasn't just tough, it was pure misery. Once, during a competition, he refused to eat the boxed meal provided. Lying in the lounge, hungry and miserable, he suddenly heard the door open. A girl wearing a mask stepped in by mistake. "Aw, sorry," she said, holding a lunch box. "Wrong room. Do you know where Eric is?" A star player would never share a lounge with substitutes. Joel pointed in the right direction, but his eyes followed the aroma of the food in her hands. "Hey, miss," he swallowed hard. "Where did you get that? Can you recommend the place?" She laughed. "This? I made it myself. I cooked too much. So you can have this one if you want." After 4 years abroad and half a year of grueling trainee life, Joel thought that was the best meal he'd ever had. "David's so damn lucky," he muttered. "A family paving the way for him, and a girlfriend who brings him food." Later, Joel learned she wasn't a fan, she was David's girlfriend. No matter where David competed, she followed him, rain or shine. Something in Joel's chest ached. If only someone cared about me like that, he thought. Sometimes he would overhear them arguing in the next room. The girl never shouted back, she would just listen quietly, and when her voice finally broke into soft sobs, all David had to do was hold her and say, "Victoria," and she'd calm down immediately. Eventually, Joel realized, shamefully, that his heart fluttered whenever he heard her sweetly call, "David." She really was as soft and delicate as drifting willow fluff, he thought. But she was someone else's girlfriend, so he buried his feelings, deciding that he'd just find anyone to marry and focus on his career. When he married Victoria, he actually felt a bit happy. "Now I've got my own Victoria," he thought proudly, until one day, outside his house, he saw David arguing with his girlfriend. Joel hurried over, thinking his chance had finally come, and when the girl stumbled and fell into his arms, he froze, because the woman he had secretly longed for all those years was the very same Victoria he had married. The drifting willow fluff he had coveted for so long had, after all the twists of fate, finally landed in his arms.